It is ridiculous how many drafts are available at the moment. You just go over to Underdog. You see they have obviously the normal drafts, the marathon, the sprint, the big dog, BBM, the eliminator. You have a puppy but super flex. You have the pug, which we had already looked at previously. Yeah, the schnauzer, the $3 buy-in, and they just dropped the hound dog as well. I'm going to get in the hound dog first. It's going to be a $6 buy-in. And then from there, we'll go ahead and maybe we ramp it up to the $12 buy-in. Then we ramp it up to the $25 buy-in. But we will see. Let me hop in. Looks like this bad boy fills pretty much immediately. Hopefully some of y'all were able to get in this draft with us. But yeah, I am like kind of overwhelmed at this point with how many options we have in these drafts. But we are in this draft at pick 8. All I got to say is sucks to suck Vinny. Vinny is in at 12. Vinny typically always getting a top 5 pick with us. However, he's all the way down at the back end of this draft. Outside of that, Jay Clark also, I believe, is in this draft with us at pick 9, picking back to back. So maybe we have to be a little bit careful, but we're going to try some things out. I have officially crossed the threshold. I've done 100 underdog drafts at this point. So 100 drafts in, obviously some of those got done off the live stream as well. I don't think we've done 100 drafts on the stream quite so far, but I am starting to feel a lot better about our overall draft strategy, starting to feel a lot better about what pockets we want to be attacking, specific positions. But thank you. We got Peck Birdman also in this draft with us at 6. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Paul, yes, I still believe we don't want to be taking wide receivers in bad offenses. Dead on Dave says, how does your first round pick change according to who's there with you? Dead on Dave says, how does your first round pick change according to who is there when you pick? Typically, I'm going to be going best player available who's in my rankings, and then that changes my later on draft strategy. I don't know if you're asking for something outside of that. Tony Montana says, can we discuss some later round guys more? Yeah, well, we'll discuss some of those later round options when we are on the board. And yeah, we can hop in another $6 draft after this if that's what y'all want. I'm just going to ask y'all what tournaments y'all want, and those will be the ones that we hop in. But let's move this down. And we are honestly at this point gonna opt to just... I'm going to take my favorite wide receiver here. I'm going to take Amon-Ra St. Brown. Again, going back to it, I'm in general going to prefer going with a wide receiver in round 1 when we get the ability to in these underdog drafts, just because the value that I like elsewhere at running back later. So taking St. Brown, super, super stable pick where you pretty much get a guaranteed 20 points every single week. Now, obviously, half PPR is going to be a little bit different than a full PPR setup. But if we just pull this up, and again, I know we've said this 1,000 times, but these are the rankings on flockfantasy.com. You can just pull this up whenever you want. Just go. If you want to hit best ball, you can go to best ball. You want to sort by my rankings, you can sort by my rankings. But just pull up Amon-Ra St. Brown, and you will see just week in and week out. Dud week 1, but then 22. 20, 20, 14, 25, 9, 18, 18, 38, 12, 12, 10, 37. You do get the massive spike weeks with the Amon-Ra St. Brown, as well as a really nice floor as well. So I think it's just a super stable pick to start off with that one. Mark says, thoughts on the color pink and boat. So this is something that maybe we do need to discuss. You have Stefon Diggs, obviously a wide receiver people are very excited about being attached to Drake May. Just in case you haven't seen, I'm sure you have, but there was this video circulating. Stefon Diggs talking to some ladies on a boat, right? Just living the Mason Dodd life. This is like what I do pretty much every single week, and I'm not on the live stream. And I will show you all the exact little clip, but I'm going to take Drake London instead of Derrick Henry. I know a lot of people would probably rather have Henry. I'd rather build around wide receivers early. But yeah, so living his Mason Dodd life. One thing I don't do, however, is he passes this pink little baggie and tells them, don't use it all. Now, while y'all know me, yes, I'm about the yacht life. While yes, I'm consistently hanging out with models on boats, I typically stay away from whatever the hell's in this little baggie. I even know what is in there. It's pink. He says don't use it all at once. And then you see what the coaching staff says, where Diggs wasn't at practice today. He skipped OTAs to party on a boat, which, again, sometimes I skip these live streams to go party on a boat myself with not exactly Cardi B and her friends. Typically my crew is the Sydney Sweeney crew, but it is what it is. We'll see if Diggs slides at all. I mean, I'm not moving Diggs down my rankings. I feel like it would be a little funny if that was the case. Chris says maybe Molly. I was going to ask everybody to guess in the chat what their best guess is what's in the pink baggie, but I don't want to get this stream taken off of YouTube. I will point out that in this draft, Derrick Henry falls down to 19. This is maybe the furthest that I've seen Derrick Henry fall in any underdog draft. Starting with Gibbs and Derrick Henry is going to be a really exciting, unique combo that you have. Now we're going to go Josh Jacobs. Again, we go wide receiver out the gate. And I don't want to go back on the Josh Jacobs over Derrick Henry train that we were on last year. If y'all remember last year, we took a lot of Josh Jacobs, took very little Derrick Henry. The Jacobs pick was good. The Derrick Henry fade, not so much. But yeah, Jacobs at 32 after starting Amon-Ra St. Brown, Drake London. I really do like this. Let me see. What is the prize structure of this tournament? $6 buy-in, $100,000 prize pool, $20K to first, $10K to second. I'm not looking at anything below that because I'm only getting first or second in this. And then what's the advancement? Okay. So 12-person group. So we're obviously going up against the 12 people that we're drafting in right now. In the regular season, the top 2 teams advance to the playoffs. Then at the end of round 2, which is going to be week 15, where you're in a 5-person group, the highest score in the week 15 group goes to week 16. Where you're in a 6-person group, the highest score in week 16 goes to week 17, where you're in a 104-person final. So these are kind of my favorite underdog contest, to be honest, where we are looking at a slightly smaller field. Yeah, he does have underdog codes in the bag. This is what I'm going to start doing for my boat parties from now on. We're going to take Lamar Jackson. Love Lamar at 41, and we have the flexibility to be able to take him here because we went St. Brown and Drake London early on. Here's what I'm going to start doing. I'm going to start printing this out. This little QR code to draft on Underdog on like business cards. And I'm going to start taking this to my boat parties, passing it out to the models that I'm hanging out with and going, hey, I know you are not drafting on Underdog right now. And boy, do I have a deal for you. Let me tell you about best ball. And I'm going to be explaining Sydney hears me talk about this absolutely all the time, right? But typically I don't say it too much around her friends, but I'll start telling her friends like, hey, yeah, best ball, it's like fantasy football, but you're not submitting your starting lineup every single week. It's automatically done for you at the end of every single week. And I know all of y'all in this boat right now are wondering how I draft hundreds of teams every offseason. And it's because I'm drafting on Underdog Fantasy. It's not going to replace my main fantasy football league. Now, I know all you ladies, yes, y'all are in your own fantasy football leagues that you love so dearly. And I'm not trying to replace that. This may just be some extra fun on the side. So I'll start handing out my business cards. I'll go like, here you go. Use code FLOCK. You'll actually get my rankings this year and my draft guide cheat sheet that you can use in your main fantasy football league. And you'll get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000, ladies. And then I'll go, I know that we're in Miami right now, and that's great news for you because you can see by this map, I'll put the map on the other side of the card, Underdog's in Miami. And then if we're not in Miami, typically we're in Los Angeles. I'll go, I know we're in Los Angeles right now. That's great news for you because Underdog's in California. If we're not there, usually we're in a nightclub in New York. I'll go, it's great news for you, Underdog's in New York. So we'll be passing out those cards to all the ladies to get them in here. I'll also remind them to go down there and hit that like button on the live stream if they have not done so already. But yeah, of course. Brian says, new to Underdog, can you explain a little bit more of how you advance? Yeah, so like looking at this tournament, for example, right? These people we're drafting against, and it's going to be different tournament to tournament. You need to go into the rules like we did for this new tournament to see exactly the advance rates. But this tournament, weeks 1 through 14, we're going to be going up against Dallas, King, Artillery, Floss, blah, blah, blah. But it's going to be, thank God Jalen Hurts goes. I'd have felt bad if Jalen Hurts made it all the way to us after we took Lamar there. But we're going to take Joe Mixon here, pick 56. I absolutely love our team. We're crushing right now. But we're going up against these other 11 teams for the first 14 weeks of the year. We don't actually play them week to week like you would in a regular fantasy league. It's just cumulative scoring, right? So whoever has the most points. And the two highest scoring teams, weeks 1 through 14, they're going to go to the fantasy football playoffs in week 15. You'll be getting placed against 4 other teams that also advanced. So you're in a 5-player little pool. And the highest scoring team in week 15 that advances to week 16, which there you're going to be put into a 6-player pool. You're going up against 5 other teams, and the highest scoring team is going to advance there. And then week 17, there's like that 100-person final where that's how you get the $6 buy-in and $20,000 to first. $6 buy-in, $10,000 to second, and all the way down the line. But let's move this down. So Olave off at 62. Kamara goes 63. I'm not a big Rome guy, but we need another wide receiver, so let's just go ahead and take him. And we're crushing this draft. I'm sorry. But so far, wide receiver, we have Amon-Ra St. Brown, Drake London, Rome Odunze. Solid wide receiver room. So far, running back, we have Josh Jacobs, Joe Mixon. Solid RB room. We have the elite quarterback with Lamar as well. Obviously, we shouldn't have too hard of a time just going and grabbing Mark Andrews later on. Even if we whiff on Andrews, we can get Bateman. We can get Likely. There are very easy stacks to have here with Lamar. But this is perfect spot. Cade says, nothing gets the ladies more excited than Underdog Fantasy with Mason Dodd. That is true. Like, y'all may wonder why Underdog pays us the big bucks. And they know. It's because you boys on those boat parties. I missed the one with Diggs. I got the invite. Don't you worry. I'll pull up my Instagram in a second. I got that invite. A little disrespected that Diggs wasn't the one who sent it and had to be Cardi, but they're paying us the big bucks. So I go on those boats and I'm always rocking Underdog. I'm always wearing that t-shirt. So the ladies are seeing that brand. Okay. Yeah. I like the team so far. Definitely. Zach says, so my fantasy football draft strategy is best ball format. Yes, we are full steam ahead. Take your wide receivers early, find running back values later, grab an elite quarterback and look for stacks. Let's see. Aleem says, bro, it's crazy how many tournaments there are on Underdog right now. I'm still trying to max out the $3 drafts. Yeah, definitely, especially to open up the season. If you haven't maxed out those $3 drafts, that's what I would do first, and then you can move over. And just keep your eye out, like, unless you want to do a super flex draft, right? If you want to do a super flex draft, you kind of got to hop in those today before the ADP really adjust, in my opinion. Okay, Brandon Ayuk off the board. We have Khalil Shakir off as well. We have 3 receivers, so we have the flexibility. I think we can go with another running back here with Caleb Johnson and pick 80, mixing in some youth with upside alongside the old crusty guys that we have with Mixon as well as Josh Jacobs. Now, you could make a strong argument to take Matthew Golden and set yourself up in a spot where we can very easily just take a running back value later with Brian Robinson and Isaiah Pacheco. And maybe we should do that. Maybe that is the correct play. But we are going to try to. 2IC says, any leagues you are making so I can join. So here are your options for leagues. Leagues with me specifically. I run dynasty leagues that at the beginning of every offseason, we have a couple open spots that I post in the Flock Fantasy Discord for members of the website to hop in those dynasty leagues with me. Redraft leagues, I play in one, and that is the Flock League. And then best ball, in which, as of now, there's no way for any of y'all to get in the Flock League. Maybe, just maybe, one of these days, we do like a listener giveaway or something. And then obviously we're doing these underdog drafts every single night. So the main thing is, if you wanted to get in here, it would be an underdog draft. We're going to take Josh Downs. You could make an argument to go with Luther Burden to set us up potentially with getting Caleb Williams on the way back. But the issue that you're going to have is, one, I think that Josh Downs is just a much better pick than Luther Burden. And two, on the way back around, we kind of need to put ourselves in a position in which we're taking Mark Andrews to pair up with Lamar Jackson. So I don't want to pigeonhole ourselves into having to look for Caleb Williams at pick 104 to get the double stack with Rome and Luther Burden. So instead, we'll take Josh Downs at 89. We'll continue to just kind of fill in this wide receiver production through the middle rounds, and we'll figure it out. Vinny says, how is this other Vinny guy in every draft? Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. You want me to be completely honest? Vinny is my roommate. I'm not going to pan the camera, but there's a second desk right next to me that Vinny drafts from. We collaborate in every draft. We team up. He's sitting right there. He gets in, and I type on his screen with his keyboard like, hey, don't take this guy, I want him. Or, oh, hey, take this guy. I don't want that guy. And that's the truth of how Vinny gets in every single one of these drafts. And also the truth on how I crush y'all in every single one of these drafts as well. I got Vinny as my sidekick. Vinny in the chat says facts. But let's see. Sam says Daniel Jones stack with Josh Downs. So if you're doing some of these drafts right now, not like Best Ball Mania, but the drafts that are going to close soon, mixing in some Daniel Jones may not be the worst thing, just because he'll be super, super low owned with the context of the overall tournament. So we're going to take Mark Andrews. Again, like we discussed in the previous round, in round 8, we could have taken Luther Burden to set ourselves up to take Caleb Williams here at pick 104 to pair up like Rome Odunze, Luther Burden, and Caleb Williams all together. But because I wanted Mark Andrews in this round, decided against the Burden pick and decided to go with Josh Downs, the player that I prefer instead. So we're just going to take Mark Andrews, the boring selection, pair him up with Lamar Jackson. The interesting thing will be like, if Caleb falls to us at 113, do we decide to take Caleb Williams to pair him up with Rome Odunze, or do we need to keep on playing catch up at wide receiver? But we can figure that out together. Because we could also take Bateman as well. Bateman were to make it to us at 113. To go Lamar, Andrews, Bateman, double stack. Never mind. Bateman's off at 110. Running backs, Najee, Charbonnet could both be in play for us. Caleb goes 112. Not taking Purdy. I like the idea of going with Najee, pairing him up with Caleb Johnson. Maybe having the running back production early with Najee, the running back production late with Caleb. And I've actually taken a lot of Najee Harris, if I'm going to be honest with you all so far. The reason being is I think we could have some usable weeks from Najee early, while at the same time, late in the season, he does turn into a running back that is probably the most premium handcuff. Like, I'd be interested to know y'all's thoughts on this. And this is something that we realistically need to think through, because maybe I am drafting too much Najee Harris. And real quick, let me address, I don't think Najee Harris is a great running back. Like, Najee Harris, not a super dynamic back, not going to be a big play specialist. Now, he definitely has positives, right? It's not like Najee Harris is a complete bum. Like, we go through and you look at Najee Harris. The man's had over a 20% juke rate every single season of his NFL career. Through the first 4 years of his NFL career, he's averaged about a 10% team target share. So he has some usage as a receiver, some elusiveness, Now, you have 0 big plays, and that is what's devastating about the Najee Harris profile. But another positive that you get with Najee is he has never missed a game of football. 17, 17, 17, 17. And you go back to Alabama, he never missed a day of football at Alabama. Now, of course, we can assume that some of those weeks that he played, he was just playing injured. Tion says Charbonnet still has contingent trade upside. I don't think Charbonnet gets traded. I think we go Loveland. We'll pair him up with Rome Odunze and go, what if the passing volume here in Chicago is a little bit better than people are expecting? And main thing is I just absolutely love Loveland. Like, I think price point, getting him here at pick 128 alongside like Christian Kirk, who's going as wide receiver 60, is almost a no-brainer. But 2 serious questions I need to ask y'all, because this like Najee Harris versus Zach Charbonnet is something we probably need to figure out. First thing that I want to ask is, if we were told in September, hey, it's week 1, like it's training camp, preseason, Amari Hampton tears his ACL. Amari Hampton's out for the season. Where does Najee Harris go? Would you rather have Najee Harris or Quinshon Judkins? I think Najee would get pushed up to a 7th round pick. I would rather have him over Pollard. I think Najee would go at like the 6-7 turn. And real quick, we're going to take Jared Goff. We're getting Goff like 27 picks past ADP or 22 picks past ADP, and we have Amon-Ra St. Brown. Absolute no-brainer. So we got Floodgate saying Najee, John saying Judkins. But yeah, spam the chat. You get Najee behind the Chargers offensive line with Herbert and with this coaching staff, if Amari Hampton out for the season, or would you rather have Quinshon Judkins? Please spam the chat, Judkins or Najee in that instance. We got Judkins, Najee, Najee, Judkins, Najee, Judkins. So it looks like the majority of people would go Najee. I would go Najee in that instance. I think Najee Harris would be a 6th round pick. Now, it's very fair to say the same exact thing regarding Zach Charbonnet. You tell me today Kenneth Walker goes down for the season. I push Zach Charbonnet up. I'd rather have Charbonnet over Hubbard at that point. Zach Charbonnet would probably be an early 5th round pick for me. So both running backs, in my opinion, have a lot of upside if we were to get that injury to the starter ahead of them. The difference between the two is I think we can get some usable weeks from Najee Harris early in the season, where I don't think you get the usable weeks from Zach Charbonnet the same way. Like, we can go through and you can look at Charbonnet. Charbonnet has given you just an absolute elite ceiling in games where you've had no Kenneth Walker. But like, let's pull this up. Games that Charbonnet's played over like 50% of the snaps, the man was the RB 19, 17, the RB 1, the RB 7, the RB 8. But then outside of that, it's a lot of like RB 4 production. Or just doesn't really get the field if Walker's healthy. We are only running back wide receiver at this point. We'll take Tank Bigsby. Here's our 5th running back. We'll call it a day at RB. And then it looks like we're slamming wide receivers for the rest of this. Because quarterback, we have Lamar Goff. Tight end, we have Andrews Loveland. Feel completely fine with that quarterback tight end room. Don't think we need to add anything there. Running back, we have Jacobs, Mixon, Caleb Johnson, Najee Harris, Tank Bigsby. Wide receiver, we have Amon-Ra St. Brown, Drake London, Rome Odunze, and Josh Downs. So here's the other thing that we have to think about, right? Is we had somebody in the chat saying that Charbonnet has contingent trade upside, where maybe Charbonnet ends up getting dealt. Here's a realistic question that I want to ask y'all. When is the last time that we saw a viable running back get dealt from a contending team just because they were in the last year of their rookie deal. Or Charbonnet's not even in the last year of his rookie deal. He has 2 years left. When have we seen a running back that hasn't fallen out of favor with the coaching staff get traded? It just doesn't happen. Like, yeah, Tony says never. Like, this is like the Tevin Coleman, Devonta Freeman back in the day. People saying, oh, imagine if Tevin Coleman gets, it's just simply not going to happen. Like, this isn't Madden. This isn't, oh, we play fantasy football as if our absolute dreams are going to come true. We're going to take Romeo Doubs. We're just going to have to grab a bunch of these crap wide receivers that maybe have some hope to do something late. Like in real life, Charbonnet hasn't fallen out of favor with the coaching staff. Kenneth Walker hasn't shown any signs of falling out of favor with this coaching staff. Those are not trade candidates. Like a trade candidate, in my opinion, is like Travis Etienne, last year of his deal. Team comes in, makes an investment of the running back position, and the front office, the coaching staff that's there now was not there whenever Travis Etienne was drafted. It's not their guy. You know? So I don't think it's fair to say like Charbonnet over Najee based off of like any hope out of Kenneth Walker or Zach Charbonnet trade. I don't think that's going to happen. I think if you wanted to go Charbonnet over Najee Harris based on the fact that like, hell, if the starter goes down in front of them, who has the higher ceiling? Probably Zach Charbonnet. Zach Charbonnet is probably a better running back than Najee Harris. But I'd probably opt to go with Najee with our team specifically because I still think Najee has a decent amount of upside if Hampton were to go down. And at the same time, I think you get some usable weeks from Najee Harris early in the season with the healthy Hampton that you don't get from Charbonnet with the healthy Kenneth Walker. But again, I think it's a completely fair argument. I'm just trying to look at both sides of it and give you my opinion on why I've been taking Najee there. Dan says, I'm drafting Etienne in hopes he gets traded. So I've been drafting a lot of J.K. Dobbins in hopes he gets signed somewhere, my guy. And it's been a painful ride for sure. But let me know if y'all think that there are any other trade candidates this year. We're going to go Hopkins. I've drafted like no DeAndre Hopkins, but we need a crap wide receiver at the end of this draft. We have Lamar Jackson. If we're ever going to take him, this kind of has to be the spot where we do it. So now wide receiver, again, this is like a lot of our teams this year on Underdog, where we have like the double anchor receivers at the top with like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Drake London, having to do a lot of the heavy lifting. And maybe we mix in some middle round guys like Romadunze and Josh Downs. And then we just have to spray a bunch of crap at the wall later and hope that a couple of these guys give us usable spike weeks and then the anchors at the top hold us down. Tiona says, isn't James Cook the easy answer? Why would James Cook get dealt from Buffalo? Serious question. Like the Bills are a contending team, and are they really wanting to try to contend with Ray Davis as their starter? Dylan says, I would say Etienne and Walker, possibly Brees, but I'm not sure. Like Brees I could buy just because different coaching staff than the coaching staff that was there when he was drafted. Last year of his deal, and they took a bunch of running backs in the NFL draft last season. I don't see the James Cook, but I could see Brees. There's also the Jets. Like, what the hell are the Jets playing for this year? Gioni says Ray Davis is maybe pretty good. We're going to take Keenan Allen again. We're just throwing crap at the wall at wide receiver. No disrespect to Ray Davis, but does a Super Bowl contender want to go into the season with Ray Davis as their starting running back? Let's play some Ray Davis trivia here. So let's look at Ray Davis from 1,000 feet above, right? Ray Davis is a running back that was drafted in last year's NFL draft on day 3 that is going to be 26 years old this season. Ray Davis was drafted last year and is going to be 26 years old this season. We go back and look at Ray Davis last year. We had one solid week where James Cook was out. He handled 62% of the snaps that week for the Buffalo Bills. He scored 18 fantasy points. The entire year, this dude had 3.9 yards per attempt in the Buffalo Bills offense, 442 rushing yards. This is a guy drafted on day 3. Like, if you're an NFL team, you're not thinking like Ray Davis, sleeper running back. Let's show the world something. Let's prove it to him. I'm not saying not to draft Ray Davis or anything, but hell, Ray Davis could be a quality RB2 that steps into a starting job if he needs to and has success in a good offense. Like, he could be a good fantasy running back because of the situation if you were to get an injury to James Cook, but he's not someone you want to rely upon if you're a contender. Rock says, can he pick it over Ray Davis? I'm not going to argue against it. Let's go. We'll take Darius Slayton just as somebody that's going to be on the field and could potentially provide us with a spike week or two. So now wide receiver, we have St. Brown, London, Rome, Josh Downs, Romeo Dobbs, DeAndre Hopkins, Keenan Allen, and Darius Slayton. Somebody I've been mixing in a lot in round 18 that doesn't feel great is Amari. But like, if I take an unsigned Keenan here, we probably don't want to be taking an unsigned Amari as well. Dan says Vidal over Ray Davis. Yeah, of course, we're going to be getting in more drafts outside of this as well. Jatavion Sanders goes. Calvin Austin off the board as well. Spencer says, might see ETN to the Commanders, Cowboys, and Walker to the Chiefs, Bills. Has there been any, like, why? Has there been any signs that Kenneth Walker's going to get traded? Like, where would y'all be getting this from? Where to go Dontavian Wicks, pair him up with Romeo Dobbs, go, what if Reed's dust? What if Matthew Golden isn't it? Or what if the passing volume goes back in Green Bay? Overall, I think it's a damn good team. It's a team that we've been constructing a lot so far this year. Again, the top end wide receivers out the gate. Neglect the wide receiver position kind of through the middle rounds and then hammer in wide receivers later. But let me show this off and then let's go ahead and let's hop into another draft. Here's what I'm going to need from y'all. I need y'all in the chat to let me know what you want to see or what you want to draft with me with. Would y'all prefer the Pug or the Hound Dog? We can do a super flex vote later. Do y'all want the Hound Dog or the Pug? The Hound Dog is the $6 buy-in. The Pug's the $12 buy-in. I think they're the same exact tournament pretty much. Just the Pug is double the entry cost as the Hound Dog. We got Hound, Pug, Pug, Hound, Pug, Hound, Hound, Pug, Hound, Pug, Hound, 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 Pug. Looks like the majority of people are on the Hound Dog, so that's what we're going to be getting in. Hop in another Hound Dog. This draft is filled. And we can vote on Superflex after this one. And we're pick 4. Thank God. We get a much better pick this time than we got last. And we got Kale in this draft with us in here at pick 10. Let me know if anybody else made it out with us. We got Zane in this draft with us at pick 9. 2 shots is $500 buy-in. If y'all didn't see, I made the video on the channel of our first $500 slow draft that we did on Underdog. So I'm in a couple $500 slow drafts at the moment. What I've seen the issue with at the moment with $500 slows, I'm sorry, $500 drafts is like, there's nobody that's willing to do the fast ones anymore. Like once Underdog gave like an 8-hour pick option, actually, this is the most that I've seen sitting in a fast draft, $500 draft. There are 9 spots open in this $500 lobby that I'm in currently. Now, I am probably going to leave this draft at some point this live stream. But if you wanted to do a $500 draft with me, I'm down. F it. But if this does not get filled by the end of the stream, I'm going to leave the draft. Warning. And I'm assuming that's not going to get filled. But usually every time I've tested the waters, we've gone out there and we've like entered in the 30-second draft just real quick to see like, oh, can I live stream this? Can I title stream $500 fantasy football draft? It isn't close to being filled. So somebody new just got in. We need 8 more people in that. Okay, so I was watching the Fantasy Stock Exchange guys with their running back rankings previously. And one thing that I may need to consider is how reckless exactly would it be to have Bijan Robinson ahead of Saquon Barkley in my rankings this season? It's a couple different things here. Obviously, I'm not going to sit here and try to fade Barkley into oblivion. I'm already taking Jefferson over him. But realistically, if we're looking at the 2 backs, the difference between the points per game of Bijan versus Barkley last season, 2 point per game difference. You add on the fact that we know, while yes, maybe Derrick Henry proved that it doesn't matter as much as we initially thought, or at least with the strong outliers, which Barkley obviously is going to be a strong outlier. But the historical data tells us you kind of need to begin to worry about running back fall-offs around 27 years old. And Barkley just turned 28. Whereas Bijan Robinson just turned 23, stepping into his prime. And the points per game gap last season was 2. A lot of that production from Barkley came as rushing touchdowns. F you. I thought we were going to get Bowers. Thought we were going to get an exciting start. What the hell am I supposed to do? We're going to try something new. This is a $6 buy-in. Let me try something for the Flock League. I know we're far away from it, but hell, ooh, can I show y'all something? Maybe I'll show y'all something for it. I got a couple things that I may disclose to y'all about the Flock League in this draft. We'll see. I need to give me a second to think about if it's smart or not. But anyway, I'm getting excited about it, and I think we need to start maybe practicing. And if Jacobs is available to me at pick 21 in a regular league, I'm taking Josh Jacobs. I think at this point, Jacobs versus Taylor is also another flip that I need to be making. Like, I think we want Jacobs over Taylor, even if I don't initially have it ranked that way. Because obviously Taylor comes through and absolutely crushes the very end of the season and wins a lot of people a lot of money based off his week 17 performance and week 16 performance as well. But in reality, the Packers project out to be a much better offense. Jacobs projects to have a larger receiving role. And Josh Jacobs is old, don't get me wrong. But like him being old, he just hit 27. He's the year younger than, oh dear God. We'll take Marv. We're going to try a double anchor build. We're going to try a double anchor. Benny says, ever tried 2C, Mason? I have not. What's 2C? 2C. That's a drug. This is a psychoactive substance, also known as pink cocaine. Oh, is that what the Stefon Diggs thing was? contains a mixture of drugs, most commonly ketamine and MDMA. It is believed. I don't want to. Can I show? I'll F it. We'll show it on the live stream. We just found out what the Stefon Diggs little baggie was. I was asking people in the live stream earlier. There's a couple different things. Let me pull this up. So obviously I need to start kind of prepping for what we could possibly do in the flock league. In the flock leagues, to start 3 wide receiver. So we are going to have a run on wide receivers that's similar to Underdog. Like last year, if y'all remember in the flock league, I went 0 RB. I drafted like 5 receivers straight. Like if you're drafting in a league where you have to start 3 receivers, full PPR format especially, it is something to consider. And in that instance, like it would be almost the same thing, right? I go Bijan Jacobs out the gate. I'm having to slam wide receivers in the middle rounds. Kale decides to go with a similar approach to us. He actually follows through with another running back in the 3rd, going Kyron after you get the teardrop of Adams, JSN, and Evans all off the board. You really are looking at like Kyron, an elite quarterback, or to go with a reach on Tet McMillan or Xavier Worthy. And he ends up following it with Jaden Daniels at 39. Crazy. Let's see. Hampton off the board at 43. Okay, let's see what's going down. Smith off. We'll take Travis Hunter here. I was hoping that we were going to get Avonta Smith to potentially go with Jalen Hurts in the 5th. Like, to be honest with you, I'm going to have a lot more Jalen Hurts this year than I'm going to have like Jaden Daniels. Like, I really like the Hurts 5th round price tag, but here, this is one thing that I can maybe show y'all. And because this I can actually get some help with. I need your help. So for the flock league, instead of doing a trophy, I don't have it with me. It's back at the house. But we had those like super high quality helmets made last year for the draft meetup. Like these are crazy good helmets. And let's see, Pickens off 50. Great for me. I'm not looking at Pickens here. Sutton's my favorite wide receiver at the 4-5 turn. So taking Sutton here, giving ourselves the optionality of Bo Nix later, where I don't have to take freaking Marvin Mims. Absolutely love. The fact that Sutton goes this close to Marvin Mims is ridiculous. But anyway. So instead of doing like a trophy, what we're thinking of doing is like a super high quality helmet like this and then putting like stickers along. If anybody has notes for this helmet here, this is what the company sent me initially. I gave them 0 feedback on it. And I'm meeting with them tomorrow to give them solid notes. If y'all have any feedback on that, let me know. But the idea is for the champ to get a helmet year round and then also do like miniature helmets that they get to keep forever. And then like throw a sticker on the helmet for like whoever won that year, right? So Avery won last season. So we'll throw like a Avery sticker 2024 on it. W. George says, how's Team 5 looking, Mason? Team 5, Lamb. Oh my God. Getting Bowers at 20 is just nuts. Lamb, Bowers, Tyreek, Smith, Jalen Hurts. Yeah, and you sniped us on Smith and got Hurts on the way back around. Team 5 is incredible. Obviously, you're going to be playing catch up at running back at this point, but I would much rather have Team 5 than my team. Okay. Solid says it needs some black on there for contrast. Okay, good to know. Good to know. Drew says, I like everything about the helmet except for the middle stripe. It looks like one big QR code. Okay, sounds good. Let me see what that actually is. Let me zoom in on that. Yeah, that just says Flock Fantasy over and over and over again. What would y'all rather have there? What I told them is remove the flock from the visor. I don't necessarily think that needs to be there. I haven't told them this yet. That's what I'm thinking. Also, instead of having King of the Flock on the back, I maybe just put like Champ there. Montgomery goes. I don't want Burrow. We don't have any Bengals. I don't want Jennings. I don't think he's good. We'll take Jerry Jeudy. And obviously, like I said, when we go running back out the gate with Bijan Jacobs, our main goal is we're playing catch up at wide receiver later. Yeah, I should put the big Q. Zane says solid stripe or 2 gold white lines in the middle. Flock 12,000 times seems whack. Agreed. We'll remove that. I saw somebody saying put the Flock League logo on the side. This is the Flock League logo, and yeah, it is on one side. There's the Flock League logo and then the regular Flock Fantasy logo as well on the other side. We should probably keep the logos. I'm going to take Judge. Or do we go with the pink baggie? We're going to go with the pink baggie. We'll go with Stefon Diggs at 76. Set ourselves up potentially with Drake May later as well. To be completely honest, I'd kind of prefer Judkins here, especially pairing him up with Jerry Jeudy, making that one consolidated bet on the Browns offense. But what is funny, whenever I checked, I believe the Browns have the lowest win total this season. Which, what I need to find is I need to find somebody who's put out the implied team totals for the entire season so far. Okay. Let me look at this. Applied team totals. See if anybody's put things out. I see people put out implied team totals for the weeks 15 through 17, but that doesn't interest me nearly as much. I want implied team totals through the course of the entire season, which I haven't seen. KO says, seen that Diggs video. That's why we took him here at 76, my friend. John says, why does Diggs feel early at pick 76 coming off an ACL tear? So the thing with Diggs is just the situation he steps into. If you are a Drake May believer, which obviously May flashed incredible talent in the league's worst situation last season, who else is Stefon Diggs competing for? A wide receiver that went in round 3 in a horrible wide receiver draft class? That's the competition. Kyle Williams, Hunter Henry, Demario Douglas. Now, I'm not like all in on Diggs by any means. I have Diggs in 8% of my drafts. But I'm not going to be, I don't want to fade Diggs. I'm not going to be fading Diggs. I'm fine taking him where he goes. If there's anybody I've been fading at that range, like Juwan Jennings, I've taken very little of. I have about 4% Juwan Jennings, only $43 of entries. The other receivers that maybe I'm fading in that range, I don't think we've taken a lot of Sticky Ricky, have we? No, Ricky Pearsall, I guess I'm not fading. I'm fading Matthew Golden in this range. Have Golden in 4.8% of drafts. So I'm fading Golden, Juwan Jennings, but not Diggs, Myers, Jeudy, Ayuk. I'm fine with those guys. Okay, let's move this down. Somebody that I'm not fading, I'd be terrified to be fading at this price point, is going to be Kyler Murray. We will happily take Kyler here at 93. You look at the team on the other end that has McBride. If we do not take Kyler here, I just simply don't think we're going to get him. And if we go through and if you look at what Kyler's given you realistically in fantasy through his NFL career, the worst finish Kyler Murray has ever had from a points per game perspective is QB 12 this past season. If we can get Kyler Murray running the ball the way he did pre-ACL tear, which, I mean, every season he's had at least 30 rushing yards per game. If we can get the passing volume up, maybe Marvin Harrison takes a step forward, all right? That's what this team needs. We took freaking Marvin Harrison as our wide receiver 1. If we're going to have any shot, we need some passing volume in Arizona. Somebody else that I'm not fading is Michael Pittman Jr., especially when we're behind at wide receiver. So let's take Pittman. So this is what it looks like if you're going to go with the double anchor RB, at least in my opinion. Y'all saw the draft that we did previous to this, where we started wide receiver. And then what did we do? We kind of neglected wide receivers in the middle rounds. We went with the other positions, and then we slammed wide receivers late. Here, it's almost the exact opposite. We start running back, and that leads us to have to play catch up at wide receiver, going Harrison, Hunter, Sutton, Judy, Diggs, and Michael Pittman Jr. And then obviously we mix in Kyler Murray for the Harrison stack. And I think Kyler has a really nice floor ceiling combo for best ball purposes. And I like Pittman a lot. I mean, Pittman is one of my most drafted wide receivers. Let me pull this up. If he's not my most drafted receiver, he's one of them. We have Michael Pittman in 17% of our drafts. So we're drafting a decent amount of, what's funny is I have a lot of Adonai Mitchell and I have a lot of Anthony Richardson as well. Which, again, expectations are these guys are garbage. At least Anthony Richardson. But that is kind of priced in. Where if he turns out not to be, maybe we're in a good spot. Okay, Cam Scatterby goes off the board at 108. Amon says the big Q has to be number one. Let me see. Yep, the big Q is at 1. The big Q we have in 21% of drafts. Walden says, can you explain the reasoning behind drafting Pittman so much? I'm not hating. I'm just genuinely wondering. Okay. Let's compare Pittman to the other guys that he's getting drafted around. So obviously Pittman, devastating injury last year. People thought he was going to be out for the season. He toughed it out somehow, some way. But where are we at this point with Michael Pittman? The worst season of his NFL career, ever since he was a viable option after his rookie season, was this past year at the wide receiver 50. That is where he is getting drafted currently. This season, devastating injury, horrible passing volume, which the passing volume is probably going to be a problem this next year as well. But you go back and we've seen in the past, Michael Pittman in horrible offenses, he's been able to post wide receiver 2 finishes. Wide receiver 13, wide receiver 21, wide receiver 25. Ooh, who did we just auto? Okay, we autoed Charbonnet. I would have taken Charbonnet regardless. So we're cool. But yeah, y'all know historically I haven't been a big Pittman guy. But at his cost, where you are drafting him at his lowest finish ever coming off significant injury, where his quarterback has a lot of rushing upside and is a very reasonable stacking option later. Like, I'm very much okay with drafting Pittman. Tierney says Downs is better. I've been drafting Downs as well. And obviously Downs goes ahead of Pittman in every single draft. But we have Downs in 10.5% of our drafts. Amon says, would you take Pittman over Cup? Nah, you don't have to. So Dak off 122. So we could take Drake May. If we take Drake May here to pair up with Stefon Diggs, we are done drafting quarterbacks. We could also wait to possibly get Trevor Lawrence later to pair up with Travis Hunter. We whiffed there. We could go with Anthony Richardson super late to pair up with Pittman. Our top option would be Loveland. I really like the Loveland price, but I really like the Drake May. We'll just take Drake May. There are some tight ends that I like later that we could get. And maybe what we should have done if we weren't live streaming and instead we taking our time, maybe we should have checked the team. Actually, Don't Utes Tommy is a member of the flock in this stream with us. We should have checked the Brian Thomas team to see if they could have taken Lawrence, which, spoiler alert, he can take Lawrence, right? He only has one quarterback with Allen. So we'll just go ahead, take Drake May, decent price tag, get him paired up with Stefon Diggs, make the FSC guys happy. the second thing I kind of want to show y'all. This is not official. But so I met with the videographer for the Flock League yesterday and showed him the Airbnb that we have, like got an Airbnb for everybody coming into Austin. Last year we just recorded at the Airbnb. And this year he's like, well, maybe it makes sense to get like a legit place to record that's not just at the Airbnb, like a place that's meant to record at. And he showed me like, he's a big film guy, and he showed me like this website you can look at to rent like commercial spaces. And let me pull this up for y'all because I think I just found somewhere pretty damn cool. So I think this is where we'll probably... I haven't reached out to them yet, so this is far from confirmed. But this is probably where we'll film the Flock draft, where we can have like everybody sitting here, put the board here, and have like a draft war room in here. I think it'll be really cool. I'm not going to go through all the pictures, but I think the setups, I'm excited. I'm very excited. Jaden Blue off the board at 134. So again, we passed on the, oh, dear God. If Lawrence makes it back to us, it was a very bad decision to pass on Loveland. Vinny says, I recognize that. Isn't that your other house? That's actually where one of my baby mamas is stayed up. We actually, yeah. Usually she crashes there, but she's cool with us doing the draft. Yeah, that's where Mason shoots his scenes. Likely off the board 130. God dang, we messed up. If Lawrence makes it down to us at 141 for us to pair up with Hunter, obviously it's too late. When we take Kyler and Drake May, we are pot committed at only those two quarterbacks. But I think it probably would have been better for us to just go Loveland in the last round. Be able to, I've taken so much Trey Benson, it's not even funny. I think it probably would have been better for us to go Loveland in the last round. That way we could have just gotten Trevor Lawrence down here at 141. And the big Q goes off at 142. Y'all know I'm never going to want to pass on the big Q. If he would have been available to us in round 13, we would have taken him. Reflect the Sun says, do you have more or fewer baby mamas than Elon? Let me look this up. How many baby mamas does Elon Musk have? Oh, 7? I had more baby mamas than Elon in high school. Are you kidding me? I thought you were gonna show me something impressive. Yes, Ty Felton just went. I'm assuming that for whatever reason, this guy had Ty Felton queued up and then decided to step away from his computer for a bit. Kyle Pitts injured. Ooh. So the kid on the clock. What I'm wanting here is I'm wanting Rachaad White. And we get him Tua off the board. So we take Rachaad White as our 5th and final running back. Charbonnet, Trey Benson, Rachaad White. All of these are clear RB2s in their respective backfields that have a lot of upside at the starter to go down in front of them. And I think could give us some usable weeks as well. So we're done at running back. We're done at quarterback. We're done at running back. We need 3 tight ends and we need a couple more receivers. Matthew says, so wait, are we actually, is there a chance we get the $500 draft going? Holy crap, ladies and gentlemen. There are 4 spots open in the $500 draft if anybody wants to get in a $500 fast draft. Now, fair warning, again, I'll reiterate this. If this live stream ends, like if we're ending this live stream and that has not filled, I'm leaving. I'm not doing that off the live stream. But if 4 of you sickos have identified me as a fish and want to hop in a $500 draft with me, this is your opportunity. I did not think we'd be able to fill that, but it looks like here we are. Vinny says, been sitting at 4 people for the last 20 minutes. Vinny has unlimited money. I'm pretty sure Vinny is secretly Elon Musk. Okay. And if that doesn't fill, then I'm just going to take a vote with y'all, what y'all want. After this, for us to hop in another draft. And of course, if you have not done so already, go down there, hit that like button. Come on. What are you waiting for? Okay, we are just wide receiver and tight end at this point. I like our team. I'm not going to complain about it. Romeo Dobbs off the board. Looking at the teams after us, there are a decent amount of squads that could look to go tight end. So I'm just going to take Hunter Henry here. We need a tight end. I think Henry's a completely fine price tag. We also have Drake May, right? So pairing up May and Henry does make some sense. Package says, you're taking Chaser Barkley at number 1 for a redraft league. We were talking about this earlier in the live stream, but I am maybe open, and this is something we're going to have to really think about. I may be open to moving Bijan ahead of Barkley. If you're like a 10-team ESPN league where you start 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, where you know your league mates are going to let you get guys like Travis Hunter around 9, then hell, you probably just go with the running back. Okay, we're going to take Adam Thielen as our 7th receiver. I really like this team. This is the complete opposite approach that we took in the last draft. However, I still really am a fan of it here. Running back, we have Bijan, Jacobs, Zach Charbonnet, Trey Benson, Rachaad White. Love our running back room. And obviously, your issue when you go running back out the gates, catching up a wide receiver, usually it's extremely difficult to do. I feel like we did a fine job of it. Harrison, Hunter, Sutton, Judy, Diggs, Pittman, Adam Thielen. Quarterback, I think we're super strong. Kyler stacked up Harrison, May with Diggs and Henry. And then tight end, we have Hunter Henry. And that's about it. We're going to have to grab 2 bombs. Let's see. Cash Clark says, thoughts on the Survivor 50 cast? I'm going to be honest with y'all. I've never seen Survivor. Maybe I should watch it. I'm sure that's great if it's been around this long. But I've never seen it. Nick says, man, don't know if I want to do a 500 draft this early, but if one's about to fill. There are 3 spots left. I kind of joined it with the assumption, thinking 99.999% chance it's not gonna fill. I was just like, yeah, I'll join one. I'll act cool on the live stream. But I'm not begging y'all to fill it. Like, if you do not want to join, for the love of God, do not join, because if we're going to do a $500 draft on the live stream, to be honest with you, I'd have rather hyped it up a little bit more and titled the live stream $500 fantasy football draft. Oh my God, I'm crazy. For us to just randomly do one does feel extremely reckless. Vinny says, rough. I want to join, but it's early for a 500. It is very early for a $500 draft. That is 100% true. We're going to take 1 more wide receiver and then 2 more tight ends. The question is, when do we take the receiver versus when do we take the tight ends? We'll take Zach Ertz here at 189. Am I the biggest Zach Ertz fan in the world? Hell no. But we just need some usable weeks at tight end. We're not winning this league based off the tight end position. We have already acknowledged that. And we are probably about to leave the $500 draft room. There are still 3 spots open. The plan will be, once I make this pick here, whether that's wide receiver or tight end, we will queue up the other position and then hop into either a puppy or a pug or a whatever kind of draft y'all want to see. Marshawn Lloyd off 193. I know Marshawn Lloyd, they did say, is dealing with some type of injury. Mostert goes 194. I'm going to take Yoshivash here, 196. I know a lot of people would be excited about like, oh, you get him paired up with the Arizona stack. You get that bring back, blah, blah, blah. I'll say it out loud so we can only pretend like we know what's going on. And then I'm just going to queue up some bum tight ends at the very end of this. I like Jatavion. I like Chig. I like Ferguson. Arroyo. And maybe we make sense of Noah Gray. And then we'll just make sure that we have enough guys. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I need you to go to live chat. Here, you can also look at our team at 4. I like the team. Obviously, we're taking a tight end in the last round. But I need you to go to live chat and tell me first, what do you want to see, a 1 quarterback draft, or do you want to see a super flex draft? 1 quarterback or super flex, spam it, let me know, and then we'll look at the 1 quarterback options if that's what wins. Because obviously, there's only a single super flex tournament. And also, side note, I just left the $500 draft. Again, I want to reiterate, I just left the $500 draft. So let's see. We got 1 QB, 1 QB, 1 QB, super flex, 1 QB, 1 QB, 1 QB, super, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, super, 1, super, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, super. Okay, so it looks like the vast majority of the people are wanting a 1 quarterback draft. I also threw up a poll at the beginning of this live stream. It had 1 QB and super flex as the options, 1 QB, 1. So now what I need you to do is let me know, what tournament do you want us to get in? We've done 2 hounds, which those are the $6 buy-ins. And we've not done any pugs or BBMs. So would you rather have a pug or a best ball mania? Pug or BBM? Spam the chat. And we left the big dog. So just to make sure everybody's on the same page, we left the big dog. Looked like that was not filling. Maybe we'll give it another shot tomorrow. Okay. Got BBM, BBM, pug, BBM, pug, BBM, pug, pug, BBM, pug, 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 BBM, 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 pug, 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 pug. So it looks like most people are in on pug. We'll go ahead and we'll hop in a pug. We are in here and there are 7 spots open if anybody wants to hop in. We get pick 6, my favorite pick of the draft. Then we have to draft next to some usual crushers. We got Kale in with us at 5. We got OMG in at 4. Vinny in with us at 10. The other Vinny in here with us at 11. Nick in here with us at 12. Lord Snow in here with us at 2. Zane in here at pick 9. Jay Wolfen in at 1. Nate in at 3. So it looks like every single person in this draft, or pretty damn close to it, is in this live stream. So we'll see. Great news for me. I'm going up against a bunch of fish, ladies and gentlemen. Easy, easy competition. This is literally could not be easier. These are the lobbies y'all should dream for. We get to go up against 11 people who watch Flock Fantasy. You kidding me? You kidding me? Does not get easier than this. Y'all just let me get Jahmyr Gibbs at pick 6. What were y'all thinking? What were y'all thinking? Dan says he has Flock's Kryptonite in his draft. Now, thank God I dodged Flock's Kryptonite. How long has Flock's Kryptonite been going up against us? Did he start when I was in Tampa, or did he start when I was first back in Austin? Um, I don't know. But Jay Woolen says you let me get Chase at 1. Yeah, I did everything I could to make that not happen, my friend. But I only got so much in me. I only have so much defense. Okay. Daniel says, hell yeah, bro. You guys roll the dice much harder than me. But once I dunk in one of these underdog tournaments, I'll be back to flex. Chris says, what kind of draft have you won the most money on, you think? I definitely won the most money in the big dog. Again, that's the tournament where I won 100,000. Whenever I won the 100,000, it was a $250 buy-in. They raised the buy-in now to where it's a $500 buy-in. Alcoholic Saints fan says, what's the better structure, Hound Dog or Pug? I'm assuming you're joking. Based on my understanding of it, the Hound Dog and the Pug are the exact same thing, right? This one's a $6 buy-in, one's a $12 buy-in. Nick says, trying for unique combo, got no value with you scumbags. Okay, so everybody here, this is sometimes what you have to do, right? Like, because if you're Nick, Nico Collins, Brian Thomas is probably the best way to go, but at the same time, everybody has done that. So you're going up against a bunch of Nico Collins, Brian Thomas teams where Josh Jacobs only goes at the 2-3 turn. So the amount of combos of Nico and Jacobs will be very, very slim. And we're going to take Brock Bowers. So this is going to be a very interesting draft. We went with the wide receiver start in our first draft. We then decided to go running back start in our second draft. Here going running back tight end puts us in an awkward position. Very awkward. Henry says, remember when Jacobs was a 5th rounder last year? Yeah, and I claimed to have him over Derrick Henry, and look what good that did to me. Also, remember when Josh Jacobs was the 8th rounder and won me $150,000? You remember that, my guy? That was a good year as well. Like Jacobs, for whatever reason, if y'all remember, back in the day, people have gotten over themselves now. But there's like the quote unquote, there's the group of fantasy football experts that are like convinced they're the smartest people in the room and they know absolutely everything. And if you disagree with them, you're an idiot and you can get laughed out the building. Now, I already know I'm an idiot. So hopefully you don't think that I include myself with that group. But it used to be a regular, this is freaking insane. I've never seen McBride fall this far. If we wanted to have the most unique combo ever imaginable, we could go Brock Bowers and Trey McBride paired up with Jahmyr Gibbs, but I don't have the stones to do it. But anyway, that group of fantasy football creators think that they are the smartest thing to ever walk the earth. They used to claim that Jacobs was an absolute bum, and he's always been a bum. This dude's career historical juke rate's like at 25%. This dude's worst finish ever was the RB 18 from a points per game perspective. Jacobs has always been a great option in fantasy. There's no reason to believe that won't happen again this year. I know people wanted us to go with McBride. Maybe, here's what I would have honestly done. If I was off the live stream, I would have gone McBride. I would have drafted the worst team ever imaginable. And I would have gone like, oh, well, at least I tried it. But here I would have been, I was too scared. We're going to take JSN, be boring. Daniel says, your Jacobs 100,000 year is going to be Tony Pollard this year. The thing about me getting made fun of for taking Josh Jacobs in round 8 all the time in 2022, whenever the hell that was. Yeah, it was 2022 when he was the RB3. Is he was coming off like 3 straight seasons of low-end RB1 finishes. Like Tony Pollard going in round 8 now is much, much older than Josh Jacobs was at that time. And at the same time has given you 1 running back 1 finish through his entire NFL career. Like very rarely are you ever going to get the blessing of like a consistent RB1 that falls to round 8 in fantasy drafts on his rookie season because a bunch of fantasy creators told you he was bad. Like that would be the equivalent of like a running back that's always been a running back 1 on his rookie deal falling to round 8 this year, Breece Hall. It's like Breece Hall fell to round 8 because everybody said that you're an idiot if you wanted to draft him. Now, I'm going to take Breece Hall here, pick 43. And I'll be fine with it. Nick says, man, I don't know why I thought this was a good idea. I hate drafting with y'all. Yeah, having to go with it. Well, I'm sitting here with one wide receiver being JSN through the first 4 rounds, my guy. So, you may have a better squad than I do at this point, taking Jacobs at 13. We'll see. Daniel says, Pollard has the Saints in week 17. Give me all the Pollard, Ward, Chig for the price. I'm not going to disagree with that, but at the same time, with those teams that are bottom 5 in win totals, which the Titans are, there is an outside chance that by week 17, they're not playing for anything. Right. I think it's a big issue with drafting based off week 17 matchups. So when we only have one wide receiver through the first 4 rounds, it doesn't matter if Jalen Hurts is the best available to us here at 54. Your boy kind of needs to take a wide receiver. Same thing, like Trey McBride falling to us in the 3rd. Even if it's like, oh, cool, I would love McBride at this price point. Frankly, it doesn't matter. We need to take a receiver. And it looks like that guy is going to be DK Metcalf at pick 54. And Mason Rudolph, hopefully you're good. Okay. Henry says, seen a guy in my Dynasty League trade Pitts for Chig in the 312. Brutal. Absolutely brutal. Lee says Breece Hall over Cook and Mixon. Yeah, I would go Breece over. I've been taking a lot of Breece in round 4. So Breece has had at least 30 receiving yards in every single season of his NFL career, at least 30 receiving yards per game, which the major concern, of course, with Justin Fields being under center is the receiving involvement with the Russian quarterback's always going to be lower. But also with that being said, typically with that Russian quarterback, the rushing efficiency is going to improve. Breece Hall through his NFL career has averaged about 16.5 fantasy points per game. We can assume that we get the dip on the receiving, but the boosted efficiency as a rusher. He plays a career high 72% of the snaps this past season for the Jets. So, 3-down workhorse that mainly provides a lot of value based off what he can do as a receiver, when that receiving volume is definitely going to take a hit this year based off the quarterback play. But I think maybe you get some boosted efficiency elsewhere. And keep in mind, he's a round 1 guy last year. Now we're getting at pick 43. Ross says, did the guy that won all the big BBM tournaments last year have stacked week 17 teams? So he had a Cincinnati Bengals onslaught, and then he had Marvin Mims. So yeah, in that game, Marvin Mims did have that bring back appeal. So a lot of people are doubling down on the week 17 thesis because Marvin Mims popped off. We are just going to have to take Chris Olave. We're just going to continue to take wide receivers in absolute garbage offenses because it's been proven that's how you lose fantasy football leagues. So we have Gibbs and Breece at running back. We have the elite tight end with Bowers. And then wide receiver, we have JSN, DK Metcalf, and Chris Olave. Henderson off 69. Stefon Diggs goes 71. It would be nice if we have another wide receiver that we can take a pick 78. Because again, we made the first 4 rounds of this draft only have JSN on them. Sam Laporta goes. That's great for us. This team on the clock, yeah, they had 3 running backs. I was kind of expecting them to go with a receiver. Matthew Golden goes, is there any world in which I can justify Khalil Shakir over Montgomery or Judkins? Round 8, we'd be looking like at Egbuka. How much of a better option is Shakir or Ayuk in comparison? F it. Honestly, we may need to take both receivers. Let's not overthink this. We're playing catch up at wide receiver. I prefer Brandon Ayuk over Khalil Shakir, especially when we already kind of have these quote unquote high floor receivers that maybe lack a little bit of ceiling with JSN, Metcalf, and Olave. And another big issue that we're going to have with our wide receiver room so far is you look at our team, where are our stacking options? We have no idea who the quarterback's going to be in Pittsburgh. Am I that excited to build the team around Sam Darnold and Tyler Shuck and Geno Smith? No. So we will take Ayuk, give ourselves the optionality to go with Brock Purdy, somebody that is somewhat exciting. Even if like Judkins does seem like he's probably the value here at pick 78. Floodgate says, Brees versus the Patriots week 17. It's over for the non-Brees drafters. 189 yards, 7 touches, 7 receptions, and 3 TDs. I hope so. Brees Hall is... So I just recorded a video right before this live stream of my top 5 most invested into running backs in underdog drafts this year. And Brees Hall is in that 5. I don't know if I want to give you all the other guys. Hopefully that video comes out. Probably not tomorrow. Maybe Friday. Salty Crackers is looking back. Would you prefer Ladd and Laporta over Bowers and Olave? Just based off ADP setup, whenever I get the ability to take like Bowers with Gibbs, I'm going to do it just because I think it's going to be a less common pairing than what you have with like Gibbs and... we're definitely taking Josh Downs. I really like Downs at this price tag. And again, we're playing catch up at wide receiver. And this does give us somewhat a high upside quarterback stacking option with Richardson later. But yeah, for me, like I think Bowers is an auto pick there at 19. I just don't think there are going to be a ton of Gibbs and Bowers teams. There'll definitely be more Gibbs and Ladd teams. Now, of course, you could especially use the argument in this draft. Well, would you rather have Ladd and McBride or Bowers and JSN? I'd rather have Ladd and McBride for sure. But you never know you're going to get freaking McBride in the middle of round 3. Okay, so Baker off 92. Baker wasn't really in play for us, so that's good for us. Bo Nix, Michael Pittman. I was actually going to be looking at Pittman on the way back around in round 9. Marvin Mims goes pick 97. No part of me would have ever drafted Marvin Mims, so I'm happy to see that. Justin Fields goes 99. Trey Harris goes 100. I've taken very little Trey Harris. Happy to see that as well. We're to go Jaden Higgins and open ourselves up to the possibility of us grabbing CJ Stroud. And again, we're just continuing to play catch up at wide receiver. Stupid simple. And I think we've done an okay job playing catch up at wide receiver here. Like, so running back at this point, we're sitting with Jahmyr Gibbs and Brees Hall. Absolutely love that running back room. We have the elite tight end with Bowers. And then wide receiver, we have JSN, DK Metcalf, Chris Olave, Brandon Ayuk, Josh Downs, and Jaden Higgins. Okay, Keon goes 105. Floodgates says, how many people are in the $500 draft thinking about joining? I left the $500 draft before we got in this one, my friend. It was going to be either this one or the $500 one. So if somebody else is in that $500 draft lobby, maybe they can give you some better insight. Does suck for us to see Brock Purdy go. We were hoping that we got Brock Purdy at pick 115 to pair up with Ayuk. But again, that is kind of a reason we decided to also go with Jaden Higgins to give us the CJ Stroud optionality later. Charbonnet off 111. Jared Goff goes. Jared Goff would have been a potential pairing with Gibbs for us. So we are running out of quarterback options. Interesting to see Andrews falling this far. So the Lamar team passed on Andrews. So Andrews does go 113. Who we may be in a spot where we have to take Shaheed and go, what if the freaking Tyler Shuck New Orleans Saints are the worst team in the NFL? Yeah, we're going to take Shaheed here as our 7th receiver. Pair him up with Olave and I guess take Tyler Shuck later. Ripperoni pepperoni. But what else am I going to do? Najee off 116. Bateman 117. And at this point, we have 7 wide receivers, right? I mean, when we're sitting with JSN, DK Metcalf, Olave, Ayuk, Josh Downs, Jaden Higgins, Shaheed, we're not in a spot where anymore we're having to play catch up at wide receiver. I think we have plenty of production there. Okay, Javonte off. I have not taken a lot of Javonte. I think I said this in another live stream, but maybe it's just wish casting for me, hoping that we end up getting a favorable landing spot for somebody like Dobbins that I have drafted. We're going to have to reach on CJ Stroud. Maybe we should go check the Nico Collins team, but I guess the Nico Collins team had 2 quarterbacks. Maybe we could have forced it. Maybe we could have tried to get CJ Stroud on the way back around, but I'm going to play it safe. We have 0 quarterbacks through the first 10 rounds. Stroud pairs up with Jaden Higgins. So we really don't have another option. Daniel says Dak, then Ferguson. Yeah, Dak went at 114. We never had an option for Dak. A couple tight ends going. And also, when we have Bowers, I don't necessarily know how much like a secondary stack like that matters. Like the way that this team crushes, right, is Bowers needs to just be usable pretty much every single week. Okay, let's see what Nick does. Goes Kyle Williams. Yeah, I bet you we could have got Stroud on the way back around. Who else would we have taken? Would we have taken Tajay Spears? No, I wouldn't have taken Spears. It would have been maybe a tight end. Like, I'm not a big Kyle Williams guy. Kincaid goes 135. McCarthy. Jalen Knoll. We're just going to take Drake May. We're just going to take the points, hope to advance. And then, yeah, I mean, I guess we could go with like Demario Douglas late. We could go Hunter Henry late. Mainly, we just need the points to actually get to the dance, right? So now, running back, we have Gibbs, Breece Hall. Tight end, we have Bowers. Wide receiver, JSN, Metcalf, Olave, Ayuk, Downs, Higgins, Shaheed. Quarterback, we have CJ Stroud stacked up with Jaden Higgins. We have Drake May unstacked. We can look at a couple of the gross Patriots receivers late. We can look at Hunter Henry late. Nick says, don't have a lot of Kyle Williams either. Just took him because he fell 13 picks. Yeah, not going to fall you at all. I mean, you need a wide receiver, and he falls. Let's move this over. So if, like, Ferguson and Goddard make it to us at 150, even if we like the price tag for both options, again, they won't be that appealing because we kind of have to put ourselves in a spot where we have the option for Hunter Henry later. Hollywood goes. Now, what the hell am I supposed to do? Do we just take Jake Ferguson and call it a day? Like, who else am I taking? Tank Bigsby, Tyler Algier. Michael Penix doesn't give us any options. Pitts is already taken. Honestly, F it. We'll take Ferguson, call it a day at tight end. I think Ferguson dramatically outscores all the wide receivers that are going in this range. These running backs aren't really moving the needle for me. So we'll go Ferg. We'll be done drafting tight ends. We'll take a Patriots receiver later. And then our third, we're definitely taking a third quarterback. The third quarterback can be Darnold. It can be Richardson. It could be Tyler Shuck. It could be Geno Smith. I actually like the idea of not taking Tyler Shuck on a team where you have Olave as well as Shaheed, Because you could play the what if scenario that, I don't know, what if Cousins ends up going to Pittsburgh and then Rodgers signs with New Orleans? Which obviously is extremely unlikely. But we're trying to turn $12 into like 40,000, whatever it may be. Okay. Let's move this down. Is Richardson already gone? No, Richardson's down here. What's the blurb on Richardson? Ready to compete with Jones. Ooh, that's not going to help us. Underdog ADP. For that to be the top blurb. So we're probably only going to take 3 running backs. I mean, even if we wait till take our 3rd, 4th, and 5th RBs this late, having the anchors of Gibbs and Brees, I feel pretty good about. We'll take Eckler, hope that we get some usable weeks down here at 163. Again, Brian Robinson, not so much a receiving back. Eckler does have that role pretty much guaranteed. Difficult part is mobile quarterback. Check down rate's going to be a little bit lower, of course. Matt says, to be fair, Shuck's not even the guaranteed starter. Yeah. Like, I like the idea of pairing up Olave and Shaheed on some teams. Not going out of my way to do it, of course. It's a garbage offense. But if the offense surprises to the upside, then you could possibly hit on both guys. As if it was an average offense. Let's go through the hypothetical scenario. The Saints were going to be an average offense this season. Chris Olave is getting drafted in round 3 or 4. Probably round 4. Shaheed in that instance is getting drafted in round 8. So both guys move up about 2 rounds in comparison to where they're currently getting selected. We're probably going to get Geno Smith. I think Kale already has his 2 QBs. And we can grab Geno and pair him up with Bowers. Which we do. We take Geno Smith as our 3rd quarterback, pair him with Bowers. So now we are done at quarterback. We are just running back and receiver. We need at least 2 more running backs. And I may be dumb enough to just take 3 more, but we'll see. Jay Woolen says, what are the thoughts with his team at 1? We go Chase, Higgins, Harrison. For me, I like the risky approach where if I have Chase and Higgins on my squad, I try to see if I can get Joe Burrow at 72. Mixon at 48, Connor 72. So we're pretty much going all in on the week 17 game. Laporta, Pittman, Marvin Mims. I hate the Marvin Mims pick. Marvin Mims played like 27% of the snaps last year in Denver. He had 1 solid week, which obviously is the week everybody remembers because it's the most important, but that's not super predictive going in the future. Lawrence, A-Rich, decent values. I like the team. They're the only main like gripe I'd have is like the Marvin Mims pick just seems a little weird. Okay. Rico Dowdle goes 182. Will Shipley off 183. Henry says, no one drafting Taysom this year now that he's a tight end. What do you think he plays this year? What week? So obviously incredibly old. Injured. I have no idea. I mean, he could give you a tremendous amount of leverage in these contests that are closing early. Because he is live to play some games at quarterback. And yeah, I did notice that he is tight end eligible on Underdog this year. So we're going to go Jalen Wright, 187. I mean, Devon Achane, smaller back. If he gets injured, based off the depth chart, it does appear that more likely than not, Jalen Wright would probably be the guy. Okay, Dalton Schultz goes 194. We are going to grab one more running back, one more receiver. Preferably a Patriots receiver. Damari Douglas was already drafted. Do I want Keishon Butte? Probably not. F it. We'll just have an unstacked May. Darnold off. We'll take DJ Giddens. Solid prospect. Never going to give you usable weeks outside of an injury to Jonathan Taylor. And then honestly, I really need to walk the dog, so I'm probably going to call it here. But obviously, I appreciate you hanging out with me, everybody. I will be... I don't know what time I'll be live tomorrow, because tomorrow I'm actually leaving... Actually, no, tomorrow's Thursday. I'll be live probably around 4 p.m. Pacific Standard, 7 p.m. EST tomorrow. Top and more drafts. But I really hope you draft with me then. And again, definitely appreciate you. If you wanted to know when we are live, just hit the bell button next to the subscribe button, and I'll see you then. But thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. I really do appreciate you, and really hope I get to see you out with the live stream tomorrow night.